Hey, sports fans, Larry Eater, RunBlogRun. Your favorite blog and the program, Conversations with Larry. Actually, a dear friend says it should be monologues with Larry. But I'm going to thank up front Mike Deering, who produces and manages all this stuff for me. He really puts up with my shit really well. And he has this little timer in back, and I always go over the timer. But would you guys expect anything else? Okay. My drug of choice, Pete's Coffee. I get an iced Americano, and I can have 3 of them a day, except I just can't afford it. So I make 1 a day. Then I do, Major Dickinson's blend, and a little ice and a little lime in it, and I suck on that the rest of the day. But I should just rub the coffee grounds on my body. I think that's an easier way, because you can't inject coffee grounds. But okay, so what are we talking about? We're just about at the end of the 2020 season. And the truth is, we shouldn't have even had a season. Now, you're going to say, Larry, explain, please. We're so confused. Well, allow me to explain. Back in January, I flew to Dubai. Yeah, I know, I'm such a jet setter. For the marathon. I love the Dubai Marathon. What I love about the marathon, too, is the absolute cast of characters that are there as well. I love one of my most character type race directors of the entire year is the race director in Dubai, as well as the press secretary. The press event is fun. It's in this gorgeous hotel, and you see people in flowing robes, you see business executives, you see athletes. The presser's done really well. Get to ask a lot of questions, get to do some video, get to geek out. Fantastic food. I mean, I like Middle Eastern food, and I can eat it every meal, and I get to. So it's kind of cool. Get a little time with some of the managers and agents, Federico Rosa and company, and what I didn't know was that it was going to be one of my last events of the year. So I covered that marathon on Friday, and that night, the next morning at 1 a.m., I'm on a 16-hour flight to Boston because the New Balance indoor meet is in Boston. And I was able to juggle my flights, got it, flew through Toronto on Air Canada, And my discovery on Air Canada was that Clamato juice was invented in Canada. And one of the stewards on the plane, his neighborhood buddy, family, invented Clamato juice. So I started drinking Clamato juice. Quite good. Better than tomato juice and not as much salt in it, and I like the clam taste, Anyway, so got to Boston. Fantastic meet. There has never been a bad New Balance indoor meeting. Mark Wetmore and his team are excellent. The Reggie Lewis, one of my favorite places to watch a meet. Many a year I've been there with Mike Deering and my son Adam. And there's always a little celebratory event. I stay at the Charles Mark Hotel or the Lenox Hotels. I actually have breakfast every day at the Lenox, same table. People put up with me. I sit there and work for 7 hours and solve many of the world's problems. Stay at the Charles Mark, have a beverage, normally a Sam Adams beer with Jefferson, the world's greatest bartender. Seriously, world's greatest bartender. And I've been to, I know you're shocked, a few bars. Well, he's Vintage Bar is in Nuremberg is probably my favorite total cultural experience drinking, but Jefferson and Charles Mark, it's just, you've got to experience it. Anyway, it'll be in my new novel, Fear and Loathing on the Athletic Trail. There'll be a few stories in there, but they'll all use assumed names because I don't want any of the managers to kick my ass. Anyway, so I've digressed again. So we were in New Balance, and I really wanted to go on to European tour. Was going to fly Air Portugal to Lisbon, and then Lisbon to, I think, Dusseldorf, and start hitting the winter circuit like I did last year. It's really fun. So what I normally do is I get a sponsor, and as cheap as I can, I'll do Boston to Europe. I'll do Boston to Lisbon. Air Portugal is a fun airline. You can get really cheap tickets. Food is good. I can sleep on there. I can work a little bit on there. So I fly in Dusseldorf, take the train then into town, and start going on the winter circuit, the World Athletics winter circuit. And I hit all the meets. And I do that over about 4 or 5 weeks. But by this time, the word had gotten out about this pandemic. And so I called a couple friends who study this stuff, and I asked them, what should I do, pray tell? And they said, yeah, you probably don't want to go to Europe. And you can get stuck over there. No. A lot worse things to do than being stuck in Europe. I love Europe. I could live in any of about 20 countries over there. And I've spent some time there. However, my financial situation was challenging. So between that and knowing that something was going to hit hard, I canceled, and I had to cover everything remotely. My last event in 2020 was the Olympic trials on February 29th in Atlanta. Hats off to Rich Kina and Jay Holder and the team at the Atlanta Track Club. They did singularly the best Olympic trials marathon that I've ever been at. And considering the storm that was going to hit in Atlanta the next week with the pandemic, and the Georgia being an absolutely cluster-uck over the pandemic, they did an amazing job. And it was the biggest trials, fantastic course, great media placement, great interviews. Atlanta Track Club juggled the USOC and USATF adeptly so that you almost didn't even know that there was such a pain in the ass as the Olympic trials. But great event. Glad I got there, and then flew back to Wisconsin, where 7 days later, Governor Evers shut it down. It was just when I was going to my favorite little whiskey bar, Cask and Ale on State Street. Just done with shopping, had grabbed a little lunch at Dubai, a little a Middle Eastern place run by Russian kids. A lot of fun. Get to talk to them about their old country and stuff. And they see this gray-haired American are going, what the hell am I dealing with? Anyway, just as we were getting ready to go over and have a whiskey, which I do about once a month, we found out the governor locked everything down at 4 o'clock, and it was 3:58, so we weren't going to be able to do it. So we got all our stuff from Trader Joe's and head home, and we didn't go back into Madison for 12 weeks, or 10 weeks, excuse me. And until I had to drive my girlfriend to the airport, so she had a good deal to take care of some friends. But I've been in California now since May 26th, and heading back to Wisconsin a few weeks. A little concerned about flying again, but during this time, there's been a few meets in the U.S. Well done, but the Continental Tour in Europe and Africa was fantastic. What it did is it gave us something to think about that wasn't pandemic related. And the meet directors and the sponsors all deserve a good clap. The creative minds that went into everything from Monaco to Nairobi and the coverage on each one of them has been superb. I've had to cover all these meets remotely. Stuart Weir and I cover the meets. He's over in the UK, and he grabs pictures. Sometimes he shoots them off his screen, and he does stories, and I do commentary, and we've been able to cover things, and our numbers have been really good. So thank you for watching and viewing, and please pass it on. But please note that every time they put on a meet, every time an athlete went to a meet, there was a chance that they could get sick. But they took precautions. They were confident in their precautions. And they wanted to run, jump, and throw. And we're glad that they were able to do that. It was reinforced yesterday with the NN Valencia World Record Day that Dios Herman's put on with his team from Global Sports. The world record at the women's 5K and the world record in the men's 10K were exciting to watch. I watched them on a small screen, and then last night at midnight, I watched the whole broadcast again. And then I watched it a third time with no sound, because I just wanted to watch them run. Rob Walker and Sonia O'Sullivan were fantastic in the last broadcast. Steve Cram was great with his team in London. And hearing Tim Hutchings and Steve Cram and some of the others, folks at Runner Space, Paul Stansgaard, great announcing. It means a lot to have educated announcing and keeping it fun and keeping us involved. And we really needed it this summer. And one of my buddies, Mark Bossardette, will always send me a little note after a meet how much he liked it. And each meet he's enjoyed. And Jeff Shaver, another good buddy who spent some time with me in China, in Beijing in 2008. We got to watch a couple nights of track in the Crow's Nest and drank cheap beer. I think the only thing I drank over there for 18 days was cheap beer, but that was 2008. He's had good comments about stuff. I think his most memorable comment of the year, Jeff's, was about Monaco, where he said Monaco was a fantastic meet and we needed it this year, but Monaco would have been a great meet any year. And that's one of the things. Each one of the meets, when you go back and think about it, had fantastic moments. A lot of them, Mondo Duplantis and Sam Kendricks and Piotr Lysick, Sandy Morris, Katerina Stefanidi. There was some pole vault only events, which really started our season off, and they were fun. Renaud Villeneuve. I really love Renaud. He's just always been a class act. He's got a great sense of humor. Yeah, he's French, but he reminds me of my brother-in-law. My brother-in-law, Gervais, is a French chef, and I go up there and we watch TV 24, watch French movies, and after a couple glasses of wine, my French is okay, so I can understand Gervais' English. But love going to meets in France, and got to see a few of them this year. Just was not able to be there. And hats off to the people who put the meets on. But why was this season so important? Because we're living in a plague. And in the U.S., there's there's 33% of Americans believe in angels. 37% of Americans believe that Elvis is still alive. That's all you need to know. While the majority of Americans know that this is a pandemic and have been careful, there's also vocal knuckleheads who get on the news, and on both sides, and are absolute assholes. But living in a country right now where some people salute fascists and white supremacists it embarrasses me. So I want to think about other things. And one of them is enjoying a track meet. And I've been able to do that all summer. And I've been able to cover the sport that I love. and write about it. And sometimes it's the only thing that keeps me going. So thank you to the various meet directors and the various agents and the various athletes and my fellow media, Cathal Dennehy, who I always see writing, and Bob Ramzak at World Athletics and his team does a great job. The folks at Track and Field News, the people at Athletics Weekly, I love them. And Jason, just good people. And they love the sport. And that's important because we got millions and millions of track fans, and I want millions and millions more. So great job, meet directors, athletes, coaches, everybody involved on the season that never should have been, but was. Will athletics grow from this? Yeah. And somewhere out there, sitting in an executive boardroom with his mask on or her mask on, is a former college athlete who has 50 to 100 million in marketing. And if you want to get involved in a sport where people really, really love the sport, give me a ring and I'll put you in touch with the right people. Because we've had the footwear companies sponsoring our sport, and they've done, for the most part, a good job. But it shouldn't always just be them. And we need some other sponsors. And this is the second greatest sport in the world. I think it's Peyton Jordan said, everything else was a game. This is a sport. And, Peyton was right about some things, and that was one of them. So, all right. Yeah, Mike, I'm finally ending. Thank you to everybody for putting this season on. We got to see the London Marathon. We got to see a couple world records. We got to see how cool track and field athletes are again. In 35, 40 years of doing this, I've never met an athlete that was an asshole. Really haven't. I've had one that came close, but never really met an athlete that was an asshole. And I can always find, as my son and my girlfriend and Mikey will attest, I always find someone I can talk about and talk to and have a conversation with. That's just me. I'm Chatty Larry. So, Larry Eater, RunBlogRun. The programming is Conversations with Larry. This was the season that should not have been. And thank you to Mike Deering for doing the programming, for Socialing the Distance, for Athletics Chat, and for Conversations with Larry. I brought this back to see that, I could talk even more. Stay safe. If you like us, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. If you love us, subscribe on the YouTube, okay? We get paid from our impressions and all that kind of stuff, all right? And people are like us and continue to like us. So check it out. If you're indoors, wear a mask. Wash your hands 20 seconds, 6 or 7 times a day. Exercise. Do something fun. Tell someone you love them every day. Smile. Laugh. Those are the things you need to do. We're in a plague. This is a modern plague. And we've got it probably for another year and a half in one way or another. So enjoy the track meets remotely. Enjoy your families remotely. When you can be close to people, give them a hug. Tell them that you love them, even if you can't hug them, okay? It's all good things. Larry Eater signing off. Have a great weekend.